Hey, put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Streaming live around the world on the internet at michaeldukeshow.com, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch TV, on the podcast, available on CastBox, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, all the good places every day. And, of course, on this, your favorite local radio station and or translator across the state of Alaska, it is The Michael Dukes Show. Hi, how are you? How you doing this morning? Are you ready to go? I'm a little droopy, I'll be honest with you. I'm a little droopy, and I've already made some mistakes this morning. Trying to, I won't go into it, but let's just say today, not my best day so far. So far, not looking great this morning for me. This morning, I'm just saying. Anyway, we're ready to go today. I had some guests that I was trying to get lined up. Everything fell apart, so that was like the first. That was the first indication that today may not be as stellar as I had hoped. But that's okay because we've got plenty of stuff to talk about. In the news and through headlines and everything else. And so we're going to be doing that. We're going to be diving down into the headlines this morning and talking about all the things that are out there that are fit to print and maybe not fit to print, things that people should be interested in, or I think they should be interested in anyway. We'll talk about that. And we're going to also, of course, open up the phone lines to take your phone calls as well, because we want you to help steer the bus today. Because I get bored talking. I get bored hearing my own voice. I know that that's probably not good radio host. Yeah, I don't know, decorum, mantra, whatever. But I want to hear what somebody else thinks too, and I like to talk about that. And so we're going to open up the phone lines this morning and get things ready to go. We're going to start off. Right now, let me just turn the phone lines on. There we go. 433-3150. If you'd like to call into the Pivotel call-in line, powered by our friends at Pivotel and Satellite West, feel free to do so. Just, pick it up, smile and dial. 907-433-3150 is the phone number today. And we'll all hang out and just talk about the various things that, I don't know. I just think anything. I mean, let's just deuces wild, right? I mean, let's just whatever. Isn't that what they say? Or is it aces, deuces wild, right? Well, I don't know. Whatever you want to talk about. Let's go talk about it. I'm also dry as a bone this morning. I don't know why, but you'll hear me probably drinking water all throughout the morning this morning. I haven't even had coffee yet. Maybe that's part of my problem. Anyway, it's ready to go here, and we will. We'll take your calls. We'll take your calls and see what you want to talk about. First and foremost, I guess I should say happy birthday to my mother. It's my mom's birthday today. And you guys should all be thankful to her. She gave birthed to me. She done birthed me. And so you guys should all be grateful that she didn't drown me in my sleep while I was a child, okay? I mean, I'm sure that I probably made her want to smother me sometimes because, it's me. But she didn't. She made it through. She persevered. And here I am. And So I wish you would all just quietly look at the radio right now and wish my mom, Sally, a very happy birthday. And that would be great. I'm sure she will hear it up in Fairbanks, as I think she and I think I see my dad is somewhere in the chat room. I think they're listening this morning. But my heartfelt love and good wishes to my mom. And it's good. You can blame her for me. There you go. Blame her for me. What are some of the things that I want to talk about this morning? Well, there are some headlines, which we're going to get into, but I kind of want to revisit some of the things we were talking about yesterday, including this whole inflationary thing, which is, really affecting. I had a conversation yesterday after the show with a local business, and we got talking about the same thing. This is on people's minds right now, and I think that will be one of the things that I want to talk about today. So if you're a business owner and you're dealing with the increased costs of supply chain issues and of labor pool shortages and inflation and everything else, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear from you and to figure out exactly what it is that you're saying to your customers, your clients, to help offset any kind of angst, or if you've had to pass that on, or if you've had to change the way you do things. We heard from Greg yesterday. We heard from Brian, both of whom do a lot of bidding and contracting and how that changes and everything else. And I would love to hear from you on that topic today, especially if you're a business owner. Because I think, first of all, business owners are the backbone of the small business owners are the backbone of the country. But, especially here in the state, they provide a tremendous number of jobs. And of course, they allow us they bring to us as consumers, a lot of great stuff. So I would love to hear that. I would love to hear from you this morning if you'd like to call in on that. So I'll open the lines for that for sure. So that'll be the first kind of standing thing. Also love to hear from new callers today. Well, is it New Caller Thursday? I guess it could be New Caller Thursday. So if you've been listening to the program for a while and you've never called in because, I don't know, you haven't taken the time, or maybe you're a little shy or nervous, I don't bite hard. I don't, just feel free to call us up today and spout whatever's on your mind, your vexedness or your frustration over a topic, or your joy on a topic as well. We'd love to hear from you again on the Pivotel call-in lines at 907-433-3150. So feel free to call in on that. And we'd, again, love to hear from you. Okay. Ooh, parched. So the governor has made his proclamation. Now, he issued it yesterday, the formal proclamation for the special election, which is going to be coming up here on June 11th. The primary is going to take place. It's going to be a mail-in primary. Ballots are going to be sent automatically to all Alaska voters who are registered at least 30 days before that election. So that means if you're not registered as of yet, and I'm assuming that if you're listening to this program, you're probably registered to vote. But if for some reason you're not, you have until May the 13th to get registered for that and to be able to receive your ballots. That will be the special primary election, jungle primary. And that's a one single ballot, winner takes all. Actually, it's the top four vote getters take all. out of that primary. And then the special general election will occur during the regular primary election on August the 16th. And I thought that's what Funumi had said during the press conference, that and apparently it's true. The ADN is reporting on this as well. I thought I heard this during the press conference, but they're actually going to put the same information, both the special primary election, this is how it gets confusing. The special general election and the regular primary election, apparently they're going to put it all on the same ballot. What? Because you've got two different types of voting on the same day, on the same ballot. And I'm a little confused as to why you would not separate out the ballot for that specifically, so that the workers could explain that this ballot is ranked choice voting, and this ballot is all one vote jungle primaries. And I don't know why they would not put it on one single ballot. I don't know why they would not put it on separate ballots versus one single ballot. Maybe it's the paper shortage. I don't know. But you would think that by then, that's in August. We're 5 months away from that right now. Why would you? Because it would be easier for an election worker to say, okay, this ballot is the regular primary ballot, and this is the one office ranked choice voting ballot for the congressional race. And so for this one, you'll rank it 1 through 4, your top 4 candidates, and on this one, you'll only vote for one. You would think that would be. You would think that would make more sense than saying, here's one ballot. I don't know why they wouldn't put it on a separate ballot, quite honestly. It makes no sense to me. But that's coming. We talked about it yesterday, and now it's official. The governor has made the proclamation. And there's some people starting to come out of the woodwork now who are looking to run, including one of our most favoritist guests who ever came on the program and asked, remember how I say on Firearms Friday there's no such thing as a dumb gun question? I will say that he did ask a dumb PFD question. And, I don't even know what to say to that. But we'll talk about that here in a second. Before we run out of time, though, let's go over to the phones. Let's see what you have to say. We'll start over here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
This is Josh at Homer.
Hello, Josh. What's
How you
on
doing this morning, Michael?
Good, sir. What's up?
Hey, just commenting on your question this morning that you were reaching out for people about passing some of these extra costs that are happening now on to customers through small businesses.
Right.
I work for a decent-sized company for Homer area, which I know you know well. It's a small community, but and we're for the first time in about 10 years having to alter our pricing by way of surcharges for fuel costs.
Right.
To help offset some of the things that we have going on down here. Rather than changing our entire pricing structure, we decided to go through a fuel surcharge, so it's something that can be adjusted and justified to the customers. But definitely hard times for a lot of folks. Some of the services we provide are pretty essential, and definitely tough raising prices on folks when it's already hard for everybody. But it's one of those things that's unavoidable right now to stay in business.
Well, yeah, and I think, are the customers pretty understanding about it? Are they, they're really bent out of shape? Are you on the front lines to experience any of that?
Yeah, I'm the one that always gets past the upset customers when they don't understand, and I'm able to usually by the end of the phone conversation get them to understand the reasoning why. But yeah, it's just hard. I don't blame people for being upset at all because they're already in other avenues of their financial spending, trying to figure out ways to make ends meet. And,
right.
This is just one more thing kind of piling on. And so I definitely am sympathetic to what they have going on. But it's just the cost of doing business right now.
Right.
It's one of those things that's unavoidable, and most of the time they understand.
Well, it's like one of those perfect storms where we've just come out of a pandemic where a lot of people have been financially stressed to begin with and everything else, and now we've got the supply chain ripple effect, the inflationary ripple effect, the oil pricing and gas pricing ripple effect. But at the same time, if companies don't increase their costs or, increase their rates or try and find a way to offset some of these additional costs, they'll go out of business, and then you'll have even fewer choices in the services and goods that you need in your community. So, I mean, it's a catch-22, and I mean, everybody pays, I guess, except for government, but I mean, everybody else pays, right? I mean, that's the problem.
Yeah, and I mean, this might be, a bit conspiracy theory to some people, but in my opinion, I think that, that is a big driving factor to a lot of the things you see that big government, pushes, is they would like to see less and less of the private sector cover the needs of the people, and it just drives more people into needing the government more.
Right.
And in my opinion, they the policies that they drive just push people in that direction because there's no other avenue.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I just urge small business owners and people that work for these small businesses to do what you can, but at the same time, don't absorb the brunt of everything to put yourself in financial ruin, because at the end of the day, I think that's honestly what they want. And, just be fair to your customers as best as you can and keep providing good service for these people around here. But they need to understand that, some of these folks, definitely not everybody, the decisions that they're making and their voting policies and the people that they're putting in office, these are the repercussions of it, and get your wallet out. Yeah,
no, I agree. We are, in a way, creating a dependency state here in Alaska, and it's a real problem. I mean, not just in Alaska, but across the country. And I think you're right. There seems to be a concerted effort on the part of some politicians to foster that dependency state, and I don't like to see it. Thank you for your call, Josh. I have one more call, but I am up against the break. I'm going to take the call on the other side. So, caller, don't go anywhere, but we're going to come up on here and run some commercials because we got to pay the bills. And we'll be back with more. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Phone lines are open right now if you want to queue up. 907-433-3150, the Pivotel call-in line. It's the Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio.
Now you're cooking with gas. The Michael Duke Show.
Okay, we're in the break right now. Let's go over here and get this caller's name and where they're calling from so that we can make sure we get it all done here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Mike. Jeff from Homer.
Hello, Jeff from Homer. You hold the line, my friend, and we will be right back to you. You will be first up in the queue. Deep in the queue. All right. Number one with a bullet. That's who you are. Are you sure you're just drinking water? Wouldn't you like to know? I mean, it's clear. Does that count? It is clear liquid. It is delicious. Tastes especially delicious this morning. I don't know why, but I'm just parched this morning. All right, lots of you wished happy birthday to my mom, and I appreciate that. She appreciates that, I'm sure. I'm sure she got a warm fuzzy from all the, it's like, Tinkerbell when everybody believes and she feels it. I'm sure that's what my mom feels right now. What could happen with the mail? No mail-in. Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's kind of out of our hands. It's been decided by the Director and Division of Elections, and as we talked about yesterday with State Senator Mike Shower, they've kind of already made the decision, and there's really nothing to do about it. That's kind of what's happening. It is what it is. I mean, I'm concerned, obviously, about ballot security and everything else, but that's why I'll be taking my ballots that they send to me in the mail into my family, and I'll wrangle everybody up to make sure that they all vote, and then I will be taking it down to a local regional office and dropping it in if they've got a drop box or wherever I have to put it. But I will hand deliver them to the government. No, I guess not that that's a guarantee that it's all going to be counted fairly, but we'll do our best on that. So that's what I'm going to be doing this morning. Natasha, says Terry. Okay. Somebody, who was it that said that their daughter loves it when I do that their kids listen with her, and when I use the voices and when I say things like Natasha, they giggle. Okay, so there's your giggle for the day. Josh Revac swinging for the back fence. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. No coffee. Yeah, I know. It's hard to believe sometimes. Sometimes I don't drink coffee. I don't drink coffee every morning. I mean, I do every morning, but sometimes not before the show. So it is what it is. Talking about increasing prices, Laura said, yep, over the past 12 years, my root stock started at $17 a box. Root stock, I'm assuming for planting, for spring planting. She says, yesterday I was quoted around $100. Oh, man. Oof. John says we should talk about bacon on the show. We talk about bacon quite a bit, actually. But yeah. I saw an idea the other day that was pretty cool. It was bacon tacos. I mean, literally with you weave the bacon and then you put it in a, you ever seen those metal tacos, those metal taco stands? You know what I'm talking about, for your plate top, where you put the shells in it and then you fill the stuff and it holds the shells upright. My wife actually got me one for my birthday because I'm like, I would love that, because I hate it when I'm trying to build tacos and they flop over on the side of the plate. I hate that. So she got me the metal one. It looks like a WV, whatever. Anyway, I saw a video, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. Somebody took and they wove a bunch of bacon together and they cut them into circles, and then they took the trimmings, I guess, and cooked them into the taco meat or whatever. But then they took those weaves of bacon and they placed them on those things and they baked them up just like that. And they had little bacon taco shells. I mean, yes, thank you. I'll take some. Yes, I will have another. That sounds delicious. $8 gallon gas will mean $7 number one heating oil. Next winter is going to be nuts. Remember, $8 is the starting amount. $8 a gas in Kotzebue is $25 a gallon gas in Kobuk. Man, Crowley Fuels announced this summer fuel prices were going to $8. Oh, we were just talking about fuel prices in the chat room. $8 a gallon for gasoline will mean $7 for number one heating oil. Next winter is going to be crazy. Apparently, Crowley Fuels, I haven't seen the announcement, but Sean in the chat room is saying Crowley Fuels announced that this summer's fuel prices were going to be reaching $8 a gallon. $8 a gallon. I'm so glad I drive a Mini Cooper at this point. You guys with your big trucks, I feel so badly for you. All right, let's go back to the phones now. Phone lines are open today. It is open line, open forum, and we're taking your calls from around the state on the Pivotel call-in line at 433-3150. Jeff from Homer was our caller before we went to break. Let's go back over there now. Jeff, what's on your mind, my friend?
Well, yeah, $8 a gallon for fuel isn't that nice. We're sending in most of the fuel, more fuel than anybody else. This whole thing, it's like our election coming up, and everybody's going to say the right things to get elected. And I'll tell you a story. Years ago, I met an old guy named Mo Shaw. He was a great guide. I guided with him. I was 20. He was 65. He took me under his wing. Great guy. Taught me a lot of stuff about Moosehead Lake over there. And we were catching fish, and told him, geez, a lot of guys are mad at me now, Mo. And why? He says, well, I'm fishing with you, learning, and I'm doing good. I'm catching a lot of fish, and a lot of people want to go with me now in my boat, and thank you for what you've done. And he says, yeah, well, don't pay any attention to those people, because I'll tell you what. He said, call you good, don't they? And I said, yeah. He says, because you are. He says, and those other guys are a bunch of clowns, is what he said. You know, and sorry, guys. But he said, this is how it goes. That's what they say now. 20 more years, oh, you're going to be, oh, you're good now. So 20 more years after that, ooh, you're really good. You're the man. He said, 50, you'll be a walking god. He said, but I guarantee you, and you want to watch out for the knife swinging because every one of those guys will stab you in the back. They are now, they will then, and they always will. And that's part of the problem with the whole world today. You know, it's like the politicians. Oh, we're going to do this, da-da-da-da-da, and then come time to set the PFD and all that stuff. Ooh, here comes the knife, straight in the back. So it's a hard world to live in. Here we sit on the biggest oil in the United States. Everybody knows it. And what are we doing? Paying $7 for heating oil and $8 for gas? Are you kidding me? You know, so I do know that the borough's going to be letting out some land, especially on the Beetle Kill, for firewood, people. So get on that now. Get your firewood. Get it put up. One thing about firewood, it doesn't go up once you get it in your shed. Get a wood burner in your house. And you know, Northern Maine, I'm going to teach anybody that. We all have wood burners. Power goes out, don't care. Most everybody has a generator. Most everybody has their wood put up for 2 years. So there's going to be birch. There's going to be dead beetle kill. There's a lot of stuff going on there. So take care of yourself, what I can say. And, you know, it's time to start worrying about you, not everybody else. I mean, help thy neighbor if you can. And but this whole deal, it's not going to be funny if that happens for next winter. You know,
no,
hopefully, you know, they say one extreme follows the other, and we'll have a decent winter, not a bad one like we did this year.
Well, I mean, I hope so. And you're right. I never understood the premise of living in Alaska and not having a secondary heat source of some kind. Now, I did for a few years, but I eventually rectified it. It was, you know, something that I put in simply because I felt like not only did I have to, just in case, but it was also a way to help offset some of the costs of, you know, heating oil and everything else. I mean, my house, when I lived in North Pole, my house was built in like 1973. It was not a 5-star energy rated home. You know what I mean? And so so having that secondary heat source, especially if you live up in the interior where, I mean, it's 30, 40, 50, 60 below, that's understandable. But even in other parts of the state, like you said, loss of power, cost of fuel. I mean, there's a multitude of reasons why having a secondary heat source is a great idea. And I don't know why more people don't plan for that. I mean, if I was going to build a new home, I would definitely build probably a fireplace into it that had a radiant heat source, you know, like a heat sink with some, you know, coolant and everything else. I would do it upright. I'd spend a few extra $1,000s to make sure that if something went wrong, I could throw some logs on the fire and you know, my house would not freeze up and I would not, you know, we would not die kind of thing. Right. So yeah, it's kind of always that prepare for the worst, hope for the best thing.
Right. And kind of look for a stove that you can cook on too. You know, not just a big fancy, nice, pretty stove that burns wood and it looks good. You go to Maine, when I started getting out in the world, I said, well, all these fancy stoves. You know, we had cook stoves in the kitchen in a lot of places. My grandmother had one. The lodges all had one. They cooked with wood. You know, we didn't haul fuel up into the Allagash when I lived there in 1978 with Patty Nugent. We used wood.
Right.
Know? We cooked on it. You know, she had the oven that you could just, you know, you kind of pushed the biscuits through and they came out done on the other end.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
You had to split the wood up more, and we had the big stoves, and because we have hardwood there, which is better, birch and maple and beech and stuff like that, but we all had wood sheds that had a 2-part to it. This is this year's, this is next year's.
Right.
So that the wood was good and dry, didn't creosote everything up. And, you know, everybody is trained there, especially in the North Woods. You know, the power goes out all the time. And then the power company, you're the last ones to get to way up there. It's no big deal.
Right.
We can cook. We can, you know, put a big thing of water on the stove to take a bath, you know, a little bit of a bath. So everybody needs to learn all that, and I'd say now's the time to get on that right now. Don't wait till next fall to cut your firewood and/or, you know, have your wood dry, all of that stuff. You want to spend money, spend it in that realm, because once you get that firewood and you know it takes 5, 6, 7 cod, 8 cod to heat your house, it never goes up.
Right.
Okay?
No, I mean,
it stays at that price.
Goes right back to what we were saying, Jeff. That's a prepare for the worst and hope for the best scenario. And once you make those kind of choices and those preparations, all your surprises will be happy ones. So that's, I appreciate it. Thank you, Jeff, for your call. Thank you for calling in. We got a couple more lines on hold. We've still got some headlines to get to as well. Let's go over here. Good morning. Oops, you got to turn your radio down. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Mike. This is Mark.
Hi, Mark. What's on your
Fairbanks.
mind? What's on your mind?
I want to wish your blessed mother, Sally, a happy birthday.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
There's a lot of topics out there, but, we have 26 days purportedly left in the legislature. All Alaskans, and send one in for your kids, teach them how it's done. Get in there and send simultaneously all these legislators in Juneau at your LIO, Legislative Information Office, a POM, a political opinion message, and tell them you want your full $15,000 PFD and send it to all of them. They're not going to be here to help you when the peanut butter hits the fan. And this is already starting to happen economically. I approached our own borough here and shared with them what little I knew about our 90-10, and nobody ever knew about it, even in the public, and it was allowed to be thieved. And so I told them, with this being thieved, that there's going to be austere economic times ahead. And I think I see them coming, Mike.
Right. No, I agree. I think that, again, this goes back to what Jeff was saying, prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Let your voice be heard, but at the same time, make plans for whatever hard times you think may be coming, and, just do your best to prepare yourselves and your families to weather any storm. That's always kind of been my mantra since I was young is, we always try and, again, prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And if everything works out great, then great. If it doesn't work out so good out in the world, then at least we're prepared for something. So you're not wrong there, Mark. Thank you for your call. Let's continue ahead over here to the next caller on the Pivotel call-in line. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Good morning. This is Jeremy.
Hello, Jeremy. What's on your mind?
In Casilla.
Good morning, Jeremy.
Well, I don't think we're headed for nuclear annihilation, okay? I think people still have plenty of time to prepare and, get ready, buy your 10 pounds of coffee or whatever. But, do be ready in case of a emergency situation happens in your community, because you cannot do anything what's going on with all these power-hungry idiots globally, but you can do something in your community, right, Michael?
Right. No, absolutely. I don't think anybody said that we were looking at nuclear war or anything else, but I think that there's no doubt that economic times are already tough. Post-pandemic and everything else, and now the inflationary factor has kicked in. People need to kind of be prepared for, any kind of, that it could be a fiscal downturn. It could be a return to the, to the fiscal crunch of the 80s or the 08s or whatever. So
yeah, and even at Walmart, you can get those emergency food buckets, which are good for, whatever they say they are. You can actually live on that stuff.
Oh, well,
for long enough, and
yeah, you could live on.
You can eat your raisins and oatmeal and Fruity Pebbles, and you'll be okay, my friend.
Well, you could live on that stuff. I would not want to live on one of those emergency food bucket rations for any real length of time because, while it's food, It's not something that you're meant to live on for the long term. We've talked about that with some long-term food storage and other things as well. And maybe that's something we can take up on the other side. Thank you, Jeremy, for your call. 2 more lines on hold. But I, again, am a slave to the clock, and I must pay some bills. So we're going to be back with more. I'm going to take these callers' names, and we're going to start with them on the other side. Also encouraging, I said it was New Caller Thursday, and we haven't gotten many new callers, but that's okay. Josh called in. That was fun. Love to hear from you if you've never called in before, you want to sound off on any of the things we've been talking about, or something completely new. Open line, open forum today. Still got some headlines. We're going to talk about Don Young's congressional race here in a minute, or the race for his seat anyway. We're going to be back with more. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes.
Allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, in the break right now, we got 2 lines on hold. Let's go over here first and see what you have to say. Good morning, caller. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Good morning. How are you, Michael? Jim Holm.
Oh, hey, Jim. How you doing?
Fairbanks. Good old Fairbanks.
Good old Fairbanks. Well, hold the line, Jim. You'll be first up in the queue. I definitely want to talk to you, so hold the line, my friend. I appreciate you calling in. Hold on 1 second. Caller number 2. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Yes, Ray, North Pole.
Hello, Ray in North Pole. Hold the line, my friend. You'll be number 2 in the queue. We'll be right back to you here in just a hot second. So we got 2 callers lined up, and folks in the chat room as well. I think the word fathom is trending, says somebody. I just can't fathom it.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me. I just don't fathom it.
Yeah, I know. It's a thing. It's a word. 6 feet. That's a fathom, by the way, just in case you were wondering. It's just a unit of measurement. Let's see. Going back here. Yes, we're going to talk about Revac wanting to run for Don Young's seat. Sean clarified and said 2 weeks ago in jury duty, 2 of the jurors were Crowley employees, and that's where the topic of discussion on the gas prices came up. Somebody said, I thought there was supposed to be a guest. I was working on some guests for today, but it all kind of fell apart. So the answer is no guest today. Sometimes that happens. I don't have a booker. I mean, I am the booker and the engineer and the host and the chief cook and bottle washer around here. So it's kind of all me all the time. All right. Apparently, I pushed the button, but it didn't happen. So we're all in the commercial break right now. We're all not in the commercial break. And just see, it's like Monday. It's like Monday. Let me get some clarification here on what I need to do next, but I think we still need to go to commercial break. So maybe we will restart our commercial break and start fresh. So, all right, folks on the radio, you just got a peek behind the scenes. That's what it usually looks like behind the scenes. But let me go to commercial break, and then I'll come back. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. Oh, it hurts. Now we're in commercial break. My Lord. How the heck did that happen? Did you see the article and must read about von Imhoff and Rodell? Yes, I did. That was something else that I wanted to talk about today. But I'm kind of letting the listeners drive the bus a little bit here. In this day and age, why on earth don't we have a small refinery running? I just can't fathom it. Well, 2 words for you. Government regulation. That's the problem. Government regulation. And that's a real problem. That's one of the reasons there's only like There's like, I think, 11 major refineries in the United States, including the one now in Nikiski, that refine gasoline, and that's it in the whole country. And there hasn't been a new refinery built. Gosh, this would have been 10 years ago that I heard that statistic. But I don't think there'd been a new refinery built in 20 years or 25 years. It's crazy. Oh, man. Okay. Let's see. Define fathom, to penetrate and come to understand, couldn't fathom the problem. Yeah, I got it. I was joking, Christine. Everybody's so literal today. Everybody's so literal. Natasha is grammatically challenged. It's like Monday. It is like, everything was fine. It was fine. It was good stuff. It was, all this whole, I had a short week. I had Monday off. I hardly ever take any days of the week off that aren't like a holiday weekend or anything. And I felt good. And then, man, I couldn't even cry out for Jesus to take the wheel because it was like there was no steering wheel. It was like I was just, no brakes behind the wheel behind the steering stick this morning. There was no wheel. Okay. Yeah, I got this, and then I got this. Well, and that was the other thing. Yeah. Okay. I just got another message. Now it is food buckets don't have fresh bacon, bro. That's why they aren't any good. Those food buckets don't have any fresh bacon. I just got a notification from the Anchorage Police Department that 5th and Ingra, which for those of you who don't live in the South Central area, is like the main intake into Anchorage from the Glen Highway. 5th and Ingra is closed. Vehicle collision with a person. And looks like it's going to be closed for the foreseeable future. So that'll make traffic in Anchorage good this morning. Oof. All right, so I was already pontificating and bloviating, and Jim and Ray have been waiting on the lines, and I apologize, guys. Like I said, I did not realize that something went wrong, and it did not go to commercial break like it was supposed to. I pushed the button, but apparently I wasn't holding my mouth just right when I pushed the button. So just bear with us here. We're getting on through it here. We're about 2 minutes out before we rejoin the radio, and then we're going straight to the telephones. Straight to the telephones. Do not let Terry drive the bus. I know she has road rage. Now, don't know if you're talking about Laura. I don't know if you're talking about Terry in the chat room or Terry, my wife. My wife doesn't really have road rage, but boy, she is Irish. You do not want to get her started. You definitely do not want to be on the other side of it for sure. Bill Brock said, this whole week is a bunch of Bert Stedman.
That was just BS.
I agree. I think this whole week has been a lot of Bert Stedman going on. That's okay. That's okay. We'll deal with it. I never get tired of these sound quips, folks. I never do. I'm going to be kind of sad that Natasha has decided not to run again for re-election because she is like the sound the soundboard machine. That girl can put out some sound bites that just make me smile every time. Some of my favorites. She's got some golden hits out there.
This is day, I don't know what the heck day it is, Madam President. It's day a lot. And we're all tired. And it is time to get a new perspective. This fishbowl and air is very stale. My clothes, I'm so sick of them, I don't want to wear them anymore.
So sick of them. So sick of them, I haven't been able to go to Nordstrom's in days. It's day a lot. She's just like the quip machine, man. I love it. I love it. She actually got it the other day, and we played a bit of it when she was trying to compare what we're doing in the state of Alaska to the fact that, we could be like Ukraine. We could, it was such a stretch. You got to go listen to it. It's just amazing. But again, I'm almost kind of bummed that she's not going to be there anymore. Well, at least for this go around. All right, 20 seconds. You ready to join? We got one more line on hold now. I don't know who it is. I don't have time to check, but we've got Jim in Fairbanks and Ray in North Pole, and then the third caller. And we're going to continue on. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like and share this video. Like and follow the show page. Hit subscribe. Ring the bell. Let's do it. Okay, so the show's a hot mess today, but that's fine. I mean, it's, again, what do you expect from a low-budget radio program, right? Right? Let's go back to the phones. They've been holding for quite a while, and we appreciate their patience on this. One of my old friends, Jim Holm, former representative, assemblyman, man about town, is on the phone with us from Fairbanks. Good morning, Mr. Holm. How are you, my friend?
Good morning, Mr. Dukes. I just wanted to tell you that you can tell your lovely mother that happy birthday from me. We graduated from high school together. So
yeah, no, I will.
I know your mother very, very well.
Yep. It's
and of course, your grandpa was a good friend of mine too. He and my father's. He was a wonderful man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, one of the things I was listening to the guy from Homer, and it just brought back a whole bunch of things from our homestead and. No electricity. We didn't have electricity until I was 10 or 11. And so we had a stove in the kitchen, you know, where we put wood in or coal.
Right.
We burned some coal as well.
Right.
And we always had heat. But now in this socialist town of Fairbanks that we live in now, everybody says you can be here if you have breathing problems and come in here and force your neighbor to be cold.
Yeah.
You can't use your stove, and now if you have a stove in your house that it's not approved by the people in power or whatever they are, you have to now get rid of it, and you can't have your auxiliary heat anymore. So it's a real interesting time to live in Fairbanks.
No.
And then of course the price of fuel, and you were talking about. Good Lord, I remember. We were talking about the refinery, getting the refinery into Fairbanks, and how all the price of fuel and gas and everything was going to be so much lower here than other places in the country because of our proximity to oil. And of course, that disappeared quickly enough.
Yeah, isn't that always how it works? I mean, they make
there's just all kinds of stuff like this that are just amazing. We live in interesting times, as the old Chinese curse says.
Yeah.
May you live in interesting times.
Yeah, well, I remember, and I remember the discussion, even though I was pretty young. I remember the discussion about it's going to be great. We're going to have cheap gas and cheap oil. And, of course, what happened? I mean, they made it a nickel cheaper than it would have been to ship up from, Creek City, Washington, or wherever the refinery is down there, Cherry Creek. And so it was a nickel cheaper.
Creek,
it was a nickel cheaper than that. And there people who were like, well, wait, I thought it was supposed to be. Well, then it wasn't. And, of course, now they've had the sulfoline thing and everything else. And so we've got the refinery shut down. But, yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. And, it boggles my mind that in Fairbanks, and I saw this before I left. In fact, I fought against this pretty hard when I left, this whole thing on
I know you did.
Thank
you very much.
Wood smoke and everything else. I mean, it just makes no sense. You live in one of the coldest climates on the face of the earth, and people are like, I'm sorry, I've moved here from somewhere else, but I've got some breathing issues, and I just don't think you should be able to heat your home in the case of a power outage because it makes me cough. And I'm just like, really? I mean, really? I mean, this is what it is? I lived in the triangle.
Yeah, we fought the MTBE. Do you remember the MTBE?
Oh, yeah, I remember
that.
They put
that crap in our...
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that
there's
well.
Another one. They had absolutely no empirical data to do that stuff. They don't have any empirical data to prove that 2.5 PM, whatever the heck it is, parts per million, affects people negatively. They just make all these great, grandiose things and then try to force everybody to be complicit.
Well, remember the original standard was PM10, right? And then it was PM.
I know.
And then it was PM6. And then it was 2.5, and if they attain 2.5, then it'll become 0.15. I mean, it's just a moving target. It's a constantly moving target.
That's right.
And it's insane. So, well,
that's how you control people.
Yeah.
You don't have to have anything that's going to stay the same. So.
Yeah. No.
Unfortunately, it's also because this trickles down, or not even trickles down, it trickles down from Washington D.C. and all the other things that we're complicit with.
Yeah.
So. I don't know. I'm trying to cheer you up today. So tell your mama happy birthday and to let somebody else talk.
Well, thank you, Jim, and tell your family that I said hi as well. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, let's go over to Ray, who is on the line from North Pole. He's been on hold for a while. Thank you, Ray. What's on your mind?
Yeah, good morning. Well, I'm guessing that Seaboth isn't a dry town, and I sure hope that Jeremy's not driving the bus this morning. But you have Chris Story and Mike Shower on every week, two of the greatest Alaskans I've ever heard. Of course, they are constitutionalists.
Yep. And
they ought to have a statue to both of them, like the Statue of Liberty down there in Kenai, one on each end, with their head on it. And, you get them on there and you really run them through the gauntlet and hold their feet to the fire and ask them the tough questions.
Sure.
But then you get Scott Kawasaki on there and you don't ask them one tough question. You don't run them through a gauntlet. This is a battle with these liberal criminals. The knives are out.
Sure.
You need to corner this guy.
Well, we're going to try and have Scott back on the program, and I did not press him super hard on some issues because he was on specifically to talk about one thing, but I'm hoping that he will come back. He and I have sparred in the past and have had hard conversations about stuff, and I'm trying to get him back on again to discuss it, but, you don't want to beat him up too bad on that first visit because, you want him to come back so that they'll get used to taking a little bit of a beating on the way through. You know what I mean? So it's not too bad. But we got some clarification on a few things there, and we'll have him back on, Ray, and we'll make sure every time we have him on, we'll press him a little harder on it. So don't fear. But when I've got a limited amount of time and we're specifically talking about one thing, sometimes you can't go down the rabbit holes that you want to go down. It's not like I can do for Chris or Mike when I know they're going to be on for a while and I can, and they've been on consistently. We've got it's a different rapport. So, but anyway, I appreciate it, Ray. Thank you for calling in.
Okay.
Let's go over here to, we got one final call, but they'll have to make it quick. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Well, this is Jeremy in Kasilof again, and no, I'm not driving a bus, but I think Rodell and Von Imhoff and all.
All right, I'm sorry. I got to put you on hold, Jeremy, because I am up against the break. So we'll talk to you here at the top of the hour. Don't go anywhere. We're out of time for this hour of The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. All right. Sorry. Back in the break. Sorry, Jeremy. Go ahead and finish what your thought was there because you weren't quick enough before we got to the top of the hour there.
Well, these Von Imhoff and Rodell, they're all corroborating to rip the people of Alaska off, and that's what they're really doing. And I think Von Imhoff should be investigated. You know what I mean? Because all these people, and I'd like to see their 5-star lunches and everywhere. I'd like to see their video cameras of all these lobbyists that are surrounding them.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see their lobbyist friends on camera. That's what I want to see.
Well, I mean, again, I think, yeah, we're gonna look into this thing and talk about this thing with Von Imhoff and Rodell. But yeah, I mean, I think you're right. There's definitely a lot of one hand scratches the other kind of thing in these situations, and we're getting a bit of a peek behind the scenes on that. And you're right. It would be interesting to have a microphone or a video camera at some of these events to see how the rich and powerful or the mighty and the elected do their thing behind closed doors, for sure. So, Jeremy, thank you for calling in. I'm glad you're not driving a bus, but
thank you, Michael Duke.
Thank you.
God bless you and your mom.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thanks for calling in. All All right, that clears out all the phone lines. And no, I think it's a stroke issue. It's not a drinking issue. I think it's a neurological issue. That was my understanding. Anyway, okay. Let's see. See what you guys have to say. It turns out that MTBE became a serious challenge to clean up when it did spill. Yeah, I mean the MTBE thing was methyl tributyl ethylene, right? I mean that's some nasty, nasty stuff. You had people getting seriously sick from breathing the fumes on that. Let's see. Trickle down from Washington, D.C., Convention of the States. That's going on. Government and bureaucrats have to prove their relevance with constant legislation. Right, LD? I mean, it's the same thing that happens with the police, right? They have to prove their relevance with constantly writing you tickets for nonsense, non-aggressive, non-violent crimes, too, right? It's the same kind of thing all the time. You know, when you hear a cop's got to make their quota, it's the same thing for the politicians. Politicians got to make their quota. I got to show my people I'm doing something. So let me change the name of the highway. Let me add a verse to the end of the Alaska flag song. Let me make the mosquito the official bird of Alaska. They got to do something. You know, that's exactly what it is. Let's see. Autocratic city-state of Fairbanks? Yeah, you'd think so. Fairbanks is an interesting town. It really is. And having been up there again just this weekend, I can safely say that, man, I miss the people up there, but I don't miss the town. I don't miss the environs. I don't miss the super cold and the snow and the you know, I mean, we get some of that here where I live now, but man, when I left Fairbanks, the year before I left Fairbanks, it was 57 below or colder for 3 weeks solid at my house. For 3 weeks, it was 57 below or colder. I mean, that just hurts. You know, it's just, you know, it hurts. Except when you don't write bills, says Kevin McCabe, your constituents get mad at you for doing. That's exactly what LD was saying. They've got to prove their relevance with constant legislation. You know, I would just be happy if a legislator went down there and did nothing, did pass no bills, voted against everything. I'd be like, you're doing a good job. You're doing a good job. I mean, I served on the Fairbanks North Star Borough Assembly for 5 years. And I think you could safely say that I was Dr. No. I voted no against almost everything. Dukes, please review the definition of the politician's disease. Well, the politician's disease is really, I mean, it's the politician's disease, but it's really the elitist disease. Basically, that says that they know somehow better than you how you should fill in the blank. Run your life, raise your kids, spend your money. Protect your family. I mean, whatever it is, fill in the blank. It's essentially they know better than you. They know better than you. Let's see. With Washington, D.C. running Alaska, Juneau is no longer relevant. LD is right. More bridges, roads, and months of recognition. Yeah, exactly. Jonathan says, MD, are you the DM when you all play D&D? I am the Dungeon Master. I am the dungeon. Oh, I'm wearing my shirt. I forgot. Nerdy Dads Build Character. That's what it says. Nerdy Dads Build Character. Because I build characters for my kids. But yeah, I do DM. I play, I mean, I would like to play more. I'd like to play where I'm a player instead of the DM. Sometimes I do both. Sometimes I DM and metagame a player too, because they need an extra person in their party or whatever. That's never as fun as just outright playing, you know, as a player. But yeah, I love it. I love the theater of the mind. I love the fun of it. I love the storytelling. I love the creativity that my family gets into and how to problem solve and do things like that. It's absolutely great. All right. Who would like to add my input but sure don't love this show nor even like that much since important issues seem to be ignored, like discussing other matters, poo-pooing while Alaskan is sinking by globalists. Herman doesn't like that I don't talk about the COVID thing every day. Sorry, Herman. You know, I'm sorry you don't like the show, but that's okay. It's okay. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. All right. Got to jump back into it. Let's do it. No, this one right here. We'll see you. Hour 2 starts right now.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Streaming live across the world on the interwebs at michaeldukeshow.com. That's where you can go to my website and download the audio stream. You can also find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Michael Dukes Show, on YouTube, on Twitch TV. If you're really jonesing for a taste of the show, you can always listen to the podcast afterwards, or if you miss anything, you can find the podcast on CastBox and Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Store, Spotify. That's my go-to, Spotify. I'm subscribed to my own podcast on Spotify, mainly just to make sure that it shows up. I'm not re-listening to myself. I get sick of hearing myself talk for 2 hours. Are you kidding me? Anyway, it's good. It's good stuff. Welcome to the program, Hour 2 of the big radio show. As I said earlier, I had some guests that we were trying to get lined up, but everything kind of fell apart. And so I just decided that we're going to do kind of an open line, open forum thing today. I got some headlines. We still haven't gotten to a couple of the big headlines because we got inundated with phone calls there at the end of the last hour after a few minor technical difficulties. It's like a train wreck. You couldn't look away. This show is just like careening towards the end of the bridge. And I just didn't pull the lever back in time, but we're back on track and we're ready to go. Man, these train analogies are awesome. Anyway, so we got the phone lines open. If you would like to call in today and talk about any of the things that you would like to talk about, it is the Pivotel call-in line, powered by our friends at Pivotel and Satellite West at 907-433-3150. 907-433-3150. If you'd like to do it, just come on in and sound off on anything. A couple of the headlines. So let's get to these big headlines, just so that we can say we talked about them. First and foremost, this email dump. Did you see this? Did you see this whole thing with Natasha and the Alaska Permanent Fund Corporation director, CEO Angela Rodell? You know that Natasha is heading the Legislative Budget and Audit Committee, which is now investigating the firing of Angela Rodell. And their whole way, they said, we want to ensure that we want to make sure that the board is not being politicized by politicizing the board. No, we're going to make sure. But again, this record dumps, it's being chronicled over at Must Read Alaska. They had an extensive public records request, and they are like a huge amount of email conversations that go on between Angela Rodell and Natasha von Imhoff. It turns out that they were pretty buddy-buddy. They were friends. Now, this was known, but it was not known to the extent at which that they had conversations of a political nature. That maybe Natasha was having influence on Rodell in many matters relating to the fund, including, according to Must Read, a bill that Rodell was trying to get passed in the legislature. It turns out that, according to this email reads and everything else, that their relationship was not just a public relationship; they had a personal relationship as well in private. They knew each other. Von Imhoff's chief of staff made an arrangement for Von Imhoff and Rodell to attend a theater performance together. There's another text message that reveals their friendship, commenting that Rodell said that Von Imhoff was the bomb. Natasha, hold this. It's a bomb. Anyway, you da bomb is the text message that Von Imhoff got from Rodell after she sent a cell phone number for Corey Feige, who is a fund trustee. Von Imhoff has gone on and on and on about how she's concerned about the firing of Rodell, that it was politicization, and it was all the while she was behind the scenes talking about legislation and everything else and doing all these other things. There was also there were side emails, discussions on matters that were being legislated with former Rep. Jennifer Johnston, Jonathan Christ Tompkins as well. Those are both they do not like the full PFD. So anyway, this whole thing chronicles a detailed and deeper relationship than Von Imhoff has ever publicized, and they are, it's all coming to light now. Again, the whole reason she was doing this was to make sure that the process wasn't politicized, while at the same time apparently politicizing it themselves. The Department of Law, by the way, already recommended that the Budget and Audit Committee did not get involved in this. Their legal opinion was that it exceeded the committee's statutory and constitutional authority. And they're already on record as saying that the relationship between Rodell and Von Imhoff is a sticky wicket. And that they recommended that if there was going to be an investigation, that a third party, nonpartisan, non-political third party would be the more appropriate way to investigate the actions. This is the quote from the Department of Law. This delegation of subpoena power to one individual, Natasha, and its current use as a threat to AFPC trustees and employees has been made even more problematic because of a clear conflict of interest at the center of the committee's investigation. So, Natasha, I just don't fathom it. How you could say that this is not politicizing what you're already saying you're trying not to politicize. I just don't. This goes back again to the politician's disease. Well, that's rules for thee and not for me because, we know better than you and we need to work closely together. And, of course I want my friends to be. I mean, yeah. Natasha, hold this bomb for me. You the bomb. Oh, man. Anyway, that is that's the deal. That is the deal on Natasha. So interesting stuff, by the way. Interesting stuff. Josh Revak has also made the news. Now, he didn't make the ADN, although it was mentioned in the ADN article about the new election that he may be considering. That he was one of the potential candidates who could run for Don Young's seat. In the special primary and the special general coming up in July and August. But it was just kind of a mention in passing. Well, now Must Read has got another article up. Apparently, she said he leaked it to a left-wing blogger on Wednesday. So I don't know if that was Landmine or Midnight Sun. I haven't gone out to look. But he said that basically that he's running for the seat left empty by Don Young. He sees himself as the heir apparent to the position, and he has the support of many D.C. lobbyists who often darken the congressman's doorway. Now, this leads to a couple interesting points. First and foremost, Josh Revak, not my favorite person. Not because he's not a congenial guy and everything else, But I remember he was on the program, and we should actually soundbite this out and go pull it out. In fact, I will. I will go soundbite that out when I get some time here in the near future, especially if he's going to be running for higher office. We definitely need to point this out. Josh Revak. Now, I'm kind of the mantra that, there's really no such thing as a dumb question. I mean, on Firearms Friday especially, there's definitely no such thing as a dumb gun question. But when there are such a thing as a dumb question sometimes in other areas, and he was on the program as part of his candidacy for, I can't remember if it was for re-election or for election the first time. I don't recall. I'll have to go back and look. But he made a comment about how the PFD, if the PFD got to $10,000, that how could we, that would just be ridiculous. We couldn't pay the people $10,000. That if that money, is basically essentially saying that money should just think of all the good we could do in government with this $10,000. And of course, my point to him was, well, if the dividend at the statutory level is $10,000, that means that the government's getting a commensurate amount on the other side. Because that's how it works, right? Because it's a split of the, if the people make more, then the government is making more. I mean, a rising tide floats all boats. And he just couldn't wrap his brain around about why Alaskans should get $10,000 if that's what the statute says and that's what the earnings of the fund look like. But he's decided that he's going to run for this seat. Now, he's been the co-chair of Alaskans for Don Young for the Alaskans for Don Young campaign for the last 4 months. And if he does run, he's going to have to face off against Nick Begich, who's already in the race. He's also going to have to face off against Christopher Constant, the progressive from the Anchorage Assembly. And he probably going to have to run off against Al Gross as well, because word is that Al Gross has come back from Thailand and he's going to run again. So it's an interesting thought. Revak really has he's still pretty new in the legislature. He really hasn't done a whole lot. He's been taking his marching orders for the most part, from what I can see. This is just my take on it. He's been taking his marching orders from so I just don't see him running as I just don't see him being a force for good in the legislature right now. While publicly Revak has been saying that he's not running, he's been calling on leaders across Alaska asking for their support, but he has hurdles. If he runs, he can't raise money for a congressional race as he's a sitting legislature and the legislature is in session. And state law prohibits that, any kind of campaigning. He would need to resign in order to mount a successful campaign or slip well behind the curve in the fundraising, unless the entire campaign is run by a bunch of D.C. lobbyists or whoever that could raise the money. But the question remains, according to Downing, as to whether Revak can run for both his Senate seat and run for the congressional seat, effectively showing up in 2 places in the ballot for the district he now represents. That's a no. I think Fanumi covered this in the press conference, that you can't run for 2 different offices on the same ballot, at the same election time. So I think that if he does this, he would be ineligible to run for re-election in his campaign seat. That's my understanding based on what Fanumi said during the press conference the other day. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but I believe that is the problem. You can't run in a primary, and then you'd have to run in the special primary in July, and then you'd have to be one of the top 4, and you'd have to be on the special general in August during the regular primary, and you couldn't appear on the primary ballot for your district and still be running in the special general for the congressional seat. And then apparently he and Suzanne got into some kind of tiff. Apparently last week, And she's got a snapshot of it. I don't know why. She reported about Don Young's passing, and he called Downing. Here's what he said. "You are the biggest piece of human waste on the planet, Susan. I just wanted you to know that." And I'm like, what? Because she posted a story about Don Young's passing on a news blog? That seems to be kind of weird. But apparently that's a thing too. So, well, we're up against the break. I guess we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have more. And we'll see what it is that you guys want to talk about. Then he deleted his comment, says Jonathan. I didn't know that. Yeah, I don't even know why he would say that. Did he think it was some kind of joke? Or did he just, wow. But screenshot, I mean, once you put it on the internet, people, it's there forever. Don't ever forget that. It's there forever. All right, we're going to continue. Phone lines are open right now, 433-3150, 433-3150. It is the Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, I made sure everything worked this time. Fingers crossed. I don't get another text message from somebody. Kevin McCabe says, I heard the timing thing that he felt she jumped the gun and all the family did not know yet, and he was grieving at the time, and we all handle grief differently. And maybe that's what it was. But again, call her up and to her face and tell her she's a dirty so-and-so. You don't do it in a public forum. But maybe, like you said, we all handle grief differently. We all handle grief differently. That's for sure. Who was Christopher Pierce running against? Who's Christopher Pierce? Are you talking about Charlie Pierce or Christopher Constant? You got two different names there that I don't. Who are you talking about, Jonathan? I'm not sure who you're talking about there. Somebody made a comment that I wanted to talk about real quick. Where was it? I'm scrolling backwards here because it was a while ago. Oilprice.com is out with a story that a number of oil analysts are predicting that a barrel of crude will top $200 by the end of the year, with some estimates going up to $250 a barrel. That's a whole nother kettle of fish there, isn't it? That's a whole different kettle of fish. I'm not sure. I thought they were running for Don Young's spot. Christopher Constant, who is the borough assembly person in Anchorage, was already setting up to run for Congress before Don passed away. And the word is he's going to throw his hat in the ring on this special election as well. So we'll see. We'll see. We need an economic system instead of capitalistic. The new system is called Compassionomics, based on compassion, not greed, from or for the participants. The problem is, Jim, is that, Compassionate Capitalism, which is actually a good book. It was written by Rich DeVos, I think, one of the guys from the Amway Corporation. He wrote a book called Compassionate Capitalism, which I still remember pieces and parts of it to this day. I must have read it 25 years ago. But capitalism is still the best system out there. The problem, human nature is baked into all things. And we can create any kind of economic system we want that, on paper works just like, it's so beautiful. I mean, communism on paper, socialism on paper, it works great, right? But you got this little thing called human nature. And, humans by their very nature are selfish animals, or, we're self-serving in a lot of ways. We have our own wants and needs and desires that a lot of these systems don't account for. There are plenty of compassionate people out there who are capitalists. But part of the problem is that we don't have a pure capitalistic system in this country anymore. I mean, we don't have a true free market because the government has been intervening in the market for the last 150 years. And that's where a lot of the problems come from, is the government intervention in the market, trying to create, equity or an even playing field or to pick winners and losers. And it's not a true free market system. So when people laugh and say, well, capitalism has failed, I'm like, well, we don't know because, if we could get the government out of it and let human, nature and human interest, run the show for a while, we could see. It's still the best system that we've had so far. Still by far. More people have been raised out of poverty in the last, 100 years than in all the previous centuries of recorded history previously. That's the thing. I mean, it is the ultimate in that regard. But anyway, I didn't want to. Capitalism in its pure form is the ultimate in compassion. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Brian. I think Brian and I are of one accord on this. We are in one accord. And how we got into that Honda, I have no idea. Like and share this video. That was a dad joke. Let's do it. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. All right. Hi, how are you? Welcome back. We got into deep waters there during the break, man. We were talking about capitalism and free markets and oil pricing and so much more. So the phone lines are open, by the way. I guess I should throw that out there. Yeah, so we're ready to go. Whatever you want to talk about, we have got the phone lines open, and we are ready to go to town on that. It is open line, open forum, so any topic is fair game. We'd love to hear from you and let you drive the bus. I kind of dropped the big stories of the day. This big email dump from about Natasha von Imhoff and Angela Rodell actually being friends. And, she's going after the Alaska Permanent Fund Corporation Board, a hammer and tong, like she's trying to prevent this from being politicized. And it's a pretty crazy story. So if you haven't been following that, that's a good one. It's up on Must Read right now. In fact, I guess I'll post the link up in the chat room because that's the kind of guy I am. I'll post it up in the chat room so you can go read that if you want. Did I have anything else? Oh, there's a whole thing here about the, I wanted to talk about this. All right, I'll talk about it because I don't want to get too wound up here. But the bond packages down in Anchorage. Now they got $111 million bond package for the school district. Now, their justification is, of course, well, we didn't have a bond package last year, so we need this one. And we're retiring about that amount of money already. So they're retiring like $90 million in bonded indebtedness. Now, remember, this takes 20 to 30 years, right? 20 to 30 years to, depending on what the bond is and the length of the bond, to pay off all this stuff. And so they're like, oh, yeah, we need to take that and, oh, yeah. And, of course, the argument is that, well, we've just got so many things. And they didn't break this out, by the way. This is what kills me. They don't break this bond out into separate pieces. They do it as a whole omnibus type package where everything is covered. $111 million. Here's how it goes. In critical infrastructure improvements. Now, some of that has to do with simple things like, deferred maintenance and everything else. Anyway, there's a story in KTUU that talks about this school in Anchorage called Lake Otis Elementary School. And according to the story, they're looking to receive $12.5 million of bonds because the systems at the school are beyond their expected life, leading to what the district is calling a needed upgrade to be put into the school to extend the building's life expectancy. Now, I tried to Google it this morning after I first read this story. I tried to find out when the construction date, when was Lake Otis Elementary School constructed? I tried to find it. I tried to track it down. And I couldn't suss it out. But if that building is less than, if it's less than 30 years old, we got an issue. What do you mean the systems are beyond their expected life? Lighting systems, electrical, mechanically, we're doing the venting. This is all basic maintenance, and, maybe there's some capital upgrades that needs to be done in some of this. But what? Oh, then they're getting a new playground, too, by the way. The $12.9 million for this bond, for this one school. 12.9, which is roughly, a third? Nearly a third to a half of what it would be to build a brand new school? I mean, I'm just, not that I'm advocating building a brand new school, but I'm like, what are we doing here? Under this bond, the district is focusing on the elementary school vestibules. They're starting to put vestibules in all the elementary schools so they can security, so that people can only come in unless they have a fob. They have to be buzzed in. So it's more security measures. And other things. I mean, I don't know. The whole bond package thing just pisses me off because I'm so, they got, there's like $800 million in COVID money that the schools in the state of Alaska have that they haven't even spent yet. They're going back to the legislature with that they need more money. They continue to defer maintenance and use the money for other programs and then come back with their hat in their hand to the legislature or to the assemblies and say, we need this because it's It is just so. And then they ask you as a property owner to indebt yourself yet again. Well, don't worry. It's only an extra $112 per 100,000. And the state's going to pay most of that. It's going to, you don't worry about it. Your part will only be $100 until the state doesn't pay it back. And then it's like, oh, well, yeah. Anyway. The school district would do well to upgrade lighting. That would easily pay out, says Brian. Absolutely, and they talk about that they could replace all the fluorescents with the new LEDs, and that's a 2-year payback. But why are we bonding 20 years worth of money for a 2-year payback? I mean, it's insane. All right, let's go to the phones. See what you have to say. Good morning. Who's this? Where you call from?
Good morning, Mike. Mark from the Golden Heart Interior.
What's up, Mark?
I'm just as surprised as you are about these bonding issues. The report card's in. The foreign-born and foreign-minded ideological infiltration and taking over of our public school system is complete. Alaskans need to take their kids completely out of school for alternative education and keep them completely away from these experimental shots. The only thing more reprehensible about the borough telling everybody that there is no more ability to burn wood or heat your home is these NEA ads telling us how much they care and they love our kids. And they're keeping truth from them concealed in these unrighteous dictates that will not share with them the truthful fountain of knowledge, which is our Lord Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, we've all got the option to do that. I mean, that's why one of the reasons why I homeschooled all my kids, Mark, so that I could do that. And I mean, that's a fight that we can fight all we want. It's not going to work right now for this day and age, but you're right. You have the opportunity to keep those things out, and that's for sure. Thank you, Mark, for your call. I appreciate it. You know, the other thing that I noticed on this whole thing, that there's already advertising going on out in the Anchorage area for Vote Yes at all these schools because, you know, it's for the children. And we love the children. That you know, they're delicious. They taste like chicken. No. Sorry, that's not what I meant. The children. We love the children. And but you know who's paying for all these things? Top 3 contributors: contracting company, architect, engineer companies. All 3 companies. The top 3 contributors are the ones who will benefit most. Now, again, I'm not criticizing them. They know where their bread is buttered. I still remember to this day seeing a trade magazine. This is 20 years ago, maybe probably 20 years ago. Seeing a trade magazine from the Association of General Contractors. They had a trade magazine that went out to different contractors, and on the front headline of the magazine, it said "How to Sell Schools to Your Community." And it was like a game plan for how to sell these schools to the communities because why? That's where they got their money. That's where they got their jobs. That's how the engineers and the blueprints and the architects and the contractors and everybody got paid. Tear that school down and build a new one. I know you still have a bond that you're paying on it. I know that you're still paying. I know you owe 10 years of bonds on this one building, but we recommend you tear it down and build a new one that you'll take a bond out to do. And that's what they did in Fairbanks. They tore a school building down that they had just performed a bunch of work on over the previous 3 or 4 years. They tore the whole thing down. They still owed a decade or more of bonds on that building that no longer existed. And then they bonded for another $25 or $26 million school on top of it, made across the parking lot. It's insane. Insane. You know what else is insane? Thinking that bad things only happen to other people. That's what's insane. Thinking that bad things can't happen to you. And maybe that's the one downside to American exceptionalism, to think that, oh, bad things can't happen to me. I mean, you know, bad things, we're America. We don't, those things don't happen here. And then something like 9/11 happens, right? And, you know, we wake up and we go, wow, I guess bad things can happen to us. Yes. This is why my family, if I had a family creed, you know, back in the day, you know, they had the, you know, House Dukes of the whatever with the crest, and the raven is the sigil, and their motto is prepare for the worst and hope for the best, and all your surprises will be happy ones. Right? That would be my house motto or creed if this was the Game of Thrones days. Right? That's what it would be, because I'm always trying to, just in case I'm planning on this or that, and that's why I have a bivy stick. What is a bivy stick, you might ask? The bivy stick is a small device. It's about half the size of your cell phone that tethers to your phone via Bluetooth. You download the app from the marketplace, wherever you get your marketplace stuff, and it creates a link to your phone, and it turns your phone into a satellite communication device. Why is that important, you ask? Well, I mean, remember back in 2018 during the earthquake down in the Anchorage area? I live out in Wasilla here, and I mean, the thing is, the epicenter was like 6 miles from my house. And I was trying to make calls that morning because I was trying to figure out what was going on and what was happening. And about half the time, I don't have a landline, but about half the time my cell phone wasn't working. It wasn't going through. Because cellular congestion, cell towers going down, whatever. If I had had a bivy stick then, I could have been sending text messages and emails. As long as you could see the sky, you can do those things. Not only that, you can download things like regular and aviation and marine forecasts for weather. You've got complete mapping facilities on board, and you can drop pins And you've got a little check-in button. So let's say an earthquake happened and my wife and family were at home and I was somewhere on the highway or downtown or wherever, and something like that happened, I could just send a text message to say, I'm okay, and here's where I'm at. And then I could set my phone to mark my progress on a map so they could follow along to make sure that I got home safely. So, I mean, if you're a snow machiner or a hunter or a fisherman, or you're out on the ocean, or you love to ATV or kayak or somewhere, it's always good to have something that brings you that peace of mind of knowing that all you have to do if something goes wrong is you hit the little red button on the bivy stick and it sends a message to all the people that you've connected to it that say, I'm hurt and here's where I'm in and I need help, and drops a direct location, down to, I don't know what it is, a 3-meter range or something. That's what the bivy stick does. It does all this for $199. Why are you not getting one right now? No activation fees. Plans starting as low as $14 a month if you get a year's worth of the safety plan. They've got rollover if you don't use your credits. And it's 5 days of continuous usage on the battery. Go find more at satellitewest.com. Click on the Bivy logo, or go to your local dealer at Lundy Marine Electronics in Dutch Harbor, Arctic Fire and Safety in Fairbanks, Safe and Sound in Soldotna, Anchorage, or Wasilla, Radar Alaska and Kodiak, Communications North in Seward, and South Central Radar on the Spit in Homer. I got a line on hold, but I got to pay the bills. We got to go. We're going to be right back. Don't go anywhere, caller. I'll get your name and where you're calling from here in just a second. And we'll be back with more with final calls and thoughts and comments. It is The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/Michael Duke Show. Also on YouTube and Twitch TV and the podcasts and all that stuff. Just go find me right there. All right, we'll be back with more right after this.
Our light, our guide, and our trusted friend.
Michael Duke Show.
Look at that. We're in the break. Successfully went to commercial break. It's amazing. All right, let's go to the phones and get some names here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hello. Hi, this is Tim from Homer.
Hello, Tim from Homer. Would you hold the line for me, please, and I'll be right back to you?
All righty. Thanks.
All right. Thanks. Hold the line, Tim. We'll be right back to you here in a second. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm going back to read some of the comments here. KTUU, now that's a reliable source of knowledge. Whatever. Indoctrination, the school district, we talked about that. Perpetual debt, that's what Brian is saying. He goes, the lighting upgrade's easy. It'd be an easy payout, but they just want you in perpetual debt. And that's exactly what it is. They want to spend your money. The union keeps the bonds going to keep their members employed. Tell me I'm wrong. I don't think you're wrong. Again, a lot of the contractors unions and the construction and the teachers unions, they want bright new buildings. They always want something new. I'm predictable too. I'm always cynical and a generally sarcastic individual when it comes to government. I'm almost a 10th level curmudgeon. Well, if you work really hard, you may make it to that 10th level. I mean, it's not easy, but it can be done. Edie Grunwald's on Sound Off this morning at 9 a.m. We won't announce that on the radio since we're on the opposing radio station, but we'll announce it here on Facebook if you want to go out and listen to Edie Grunwald this morning on Sound Off. Dwayne asks, can you use the bivy to put your location somewhere where you are not so you can't be tracked or show that you were not where you were? I'm asking for a friend. I think I'll take the fifth on that, Dwayne. I don't think it'll happen. Sean Forn for U.S. Senate, Chris By for U.S. Congress will be at the outdoor show this weekend in Wasilla. Nice. Okay. And we're about, what are we about here? 14 minutes till the top of the hour. Oof. Okay. Well, what else you guys want to talk about this morning? I'm done. Now, Donna made a comment about CSR and ESR. I'm just trying to figure out what those are. Sorry, I know I'm babbling here. You don't know anything. Environmental, social, and corporate governance, the three broad categories. Socially responsible investors. So that's the first one. And the other one is CSR, which is CSR, corporate social responsibility. Refers to practices and policies undertaken by corporations intended to have a positive influence on the world. This is back when we were talking about compassionate capitalism. And she says, this is Donna Arden, she says, corporate social responsibility and environmental, social, and corporate governance may destroy our economy because they're trying to do things that are, again, they're promoting, again, environmental justice and social justice and all this other kind of stuff when they really should just focus on what they do and let people make their own decisions instead of trying to pick. Again, this is the problem with government picks winners and losers, and then companies try to pick sides on different issues or different debates, to show how woke they are or to virtue signal where they are, and then they just, and we must abandon. There's an article in the Hill here. Article in the Hill from who is this? Greg Byron, Representative Byron Donalds of Florida. We must abandon ESG policies in America and around the globe. Woke companies. I'd never heard of either one of those things in that regard. So I guess it's something that I'll have to. I guess it's something that I will have to read up on a little bit more. So thank you, Donna, for commenting on that. I'll see if I can figure out what's going on with what it is. Elise Galvin is running in District 14 as an independent, but uses Act Blue for getting her donations. Act Blue is a Democratic-only website. She's a Democrat running as an independent. I mean, that's a surprise to you? I mean, that's a huge surprise to you, Susie, that Elise Galvin is calling herself an independent, but really she's a Democrat? I mean, isn't that what Al Gross said before he was outed on a recording saying, I'm really a Democrat. I caucus with Democrats. Is that really shocking to you that happened? I mean, I'm asking for a friend. All right, let's get down to it here. We're running up against the clock. We're going to rejoin the radio. Please like and share this video. I haven't asked you to do that, or have I? Maybe I have. I don't know. Like and share, like and follow the show page. Subscribe, ring the bell, do all that happy stuff. Let's get back over to the radio and the phones, and we'll do it to it. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. All right, returning now, one final segment of the program as we get ready to wrap things up. We got some phone lines on hold, so we're going to go over there first. Tim is over in my beautiful adopted hometown of Homer. Tim's down there or wanted to sound off on something, so let's go to him first to see what he has to say. Good morning, Tim. What's on your mind?
Hey, good morning. Yeah, I just had a question. I figured you probably knew. I see how Walker's going for governor again, and I was just wondering, you know how he got into the dividend and took out all that money for the dividend. Where did that money go?
The money remained.
I know it was a lot of money.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, the money that.
Yep. So he vetoed the money out of the dividend. And because the money was vetoed and he doesn't have appropriation power, the money remained in the earnings reserve account. In fact, for the first 3 or 4 years of them taking the dividend, it was kind of a misnomer when people said, oh, they stole our money to spend it on government. No, they stole your money to just leave it in the account. because for the first 3 or 4 years, it was not spent on anything. It just sat in the earnings reserve account drawing interest. And then one year they finally tapped into the ERA deep enough to draw into it, and they started using some of it. But yeah, for the most part, those first 3 or 4 years of your dividend being taken, that was all money just sitting there in the bank account for a rainy day in case they needed it.
Wow. Yeah, I think he was a lawyer. That's how he was able to tap into that, and now he's going for governor again, and that's kind of wild.
Well, I mean, he was a lawyer, but I mean, he was able to tap into it because the governor has line item veto authority, and he exercised it. But that was really on a transfer. The argument that then went over to the court case on the Supreme Court between Wielechowski and the state was it a transfer or was it an appropriation? And they ruled that it was an appropriation and subject to legislative appropriation and government veto. That's what it came down to. But yeah, I mean, to me, it was almost even more insulting. It wasn't like they were taking the money and spending it in the economy. It was like they took the money from Alaskans out of the private economy, and then they just held on to it till they needed it one day. That was almost more insulting than if they'd gone out and spent it.
Yeah, and that he was wanting to do that pipeline, and I think from what I was reading, it was going to be like pretty much a China deal.
Yeah, China was going to have major stakeholder status in it. They were going to be something like 75% owners in the whole thing. Yeah, I mean, it was a hot mess.
That's wild, because that would have been pretty much China's pipeline here in Alaska. That's not a very good deal. Now he's going for governor. Hopefully he doesn't get in there. But anyway, I appreciate your time, and I figured, you knew about that money. I was just wondering, just because he was the first one to tap into it. And I remember hearing, 20 years ago, they said once they got their hands into it.
Yeah. Well, and quite honestly,
not a good deal.
Quite honestly, Tim, a chunk of that money is still sitting in the earnings reserve account. I mean, it could be paid back, but I mean, I'm with you on that. Thank you for your call, Tim. I appreciate it. Let's go over here to the phones. Take another phone call this morning. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning, Michael. David Boyle calling from Anchorage.
Hey,
How
David.
Are you today?
Good. What's happening down there?
Well, not much. Well, actually, too much sometimes. But I just wanted to tell your listeners out there, there's a tremendous bill coming up tomorrow morning in Senate Education, Senate Bill 196. And it actually has to do with pushing back against critical race theory. And it has two parts to it: transparency and compelled speech. The transparency portion requires the schools or districts to put on their website any instructional materials, training materials relating to, it's rather long, diversity, equity, inclusion, race, sex, etc. So that's very good. I'd like to see them put all their curriculum on their web pages,
right?
But they're not going to do that, I don't believe. The other part two of that, is prohibiting compelled speech. That means that a teacher, administrator, or other employees cannot award a course grading and require the student to get extra credit for political activism or lobbying, or persuade members of the executive or legislative branch at any level in the state. So, you can't give credit for a kid going down to Juneau and lobbying for the NEA, let's say.
That's
a really great. And
is that happening right now, David? Is that happening
in this bill?
David, is that happening right now? I mean,
it's tomorrow.
No. I mean, I'm talking about the giving student extra credit for lobbying and going down and doing all this political activism. Are they actually giving extra credit for that?
Well, I don't know if they're giving them extra credit for their class in that or not, but they're paying for them to go down there. To lobby for more funding for the broken school system in Alaska.
Wow.
The best part of this bill, I would say one of the best parts of the bill, is there are teeth in this bill. If anybody is aggrieved by these actions, be it a teacher, an employee, or a student, or a parent, they can sue the district in civil court for damages.
Ooh. Okay, so when's the hearing,
so
and where is it?
Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.
Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. And it's in Senate Education, or
Senate Education. The chair is Roger Holland. And there'll be expert testimony there by Christopher Rufo, who's probably the expert in the nation on critical race theory.
All right.
And hope your people listen in.
Thanks, you. Thanks, David.
For all you do, Michael.
Appreciate you calling in this morning. One final call here before we quit the show for today. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Randy in Fairbanks.
Hello, Randy. What's on your mind?
Well, just talking about the Bill Walker veto in 2016 when he vetoed half of the PFD. And you're right what you said, that money didn't go for government purposes or anything. It just went right back into the earnings reserve account of the permanent fund. But the reason he did it, of course, was to help eventually pave the way for SB 26, which they finally passed 2 years later in 2018. And that was the bill, of course, that allowed for some of the earnings of the permanent fund to be used for government, which was the original purpose of setting up the permanent fund in 1976. And to me, I've never voted for Bill Walker, don't plan to ever vote for him or anything. He's too liberal for me. But to me, that was the one truly heroic thing that Bill Walker did. He sacrificed, he knew he was going to be in big trouble politically for doing it. He sacrificed his political career to provide cover for the cowardly legislatures that were quaking in their boots, and they were too afraid to reduce the PFD to make way for some of the earnings to be used to pay for the massive deficits that Alaska was put on with when the price of oil crashed in 2014 and 2015. We had a $4 billion deficit, and we desperately needed to use some of those earnings, but the legislature was too cowardly to do anything until Bill Walker magnificently stepped up. I'm still not going to vote for him, but that was a heroic act.
They didn't do anything even after he did that. Again, the money just sat in the account. And, you could say it was a heroic act. They already had the ability to draw from the earnings reserve. All they needed was a 3/4 vote to do so. They just needed a majority vote to do so from the earnings reserve. They could have done it. They could have done it at any time. They didn't need Bill Walker's veto to make that happen. And again, he took money out of the private economy and and then did nothing with it. I mean, at least if he had spent it on government, I guess there would have been some kind of stimulus in that. Not nearly what it would have been if it had been in private hands. But instead, he just left it in the account, and it sat there for years. So, you could idolize him all you want for that vote, but I think it was still the wrong call. Thank you, Randy, for your call. We're out of time for today. Tomorrow is Firearms Friday. I'm out of here, my friends. Thank you for coming in and joining us. We love you. We thank you for listening. Be kind to one another. Love one another. Live well. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. Okay, my friends, I appreciate all of you. Again, like and share if you would. Like and share. Like and follow. We will see you tomorrow. Have a great day.